to the show. Welcome to the show. The Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show. We're so glad you're here. You're gonna meet friends you didn't even know. Friends on the Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show. Come on and pull up a chair. Oh, we got so much to share. So much fun you're gonna share. Oh, since it's SpoOktober on the Mr. Marty Show. Mr. Marty Show. Mr. Marty Show. Live action on the Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show. Mr. Marty Show. Live action on the Mr. Marty Show. 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 Bang!
Jack carries his soul in a turnip shell in the crook of his arm. Wanders the road alone at night for doing the devil harm. The turnip has two slits for eyes and another for its nose. The mouth is carved as in surprise, from it his red soul glows.
Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one of the sea. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross. For us whose soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one of the sea. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross. For us whose soul it might be lost.
Jackie was a thieving man, the kind the devil cursed. Jack fooled the devil to be a coin, kept him in his purse. The devil promised Jack he would never live in hell. Jack took the devil from the sack, threw him down the well.
Oh, Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one of the sea. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross. Or else his soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one of the sea. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross. Or else his soul it might be lost.
In heaven, Peter locked him out, sent him straight to hell. The devil let out a frightened shout and locked him out as well. The spirits that see his lantern run away with a scream. That's why we carve the pumpkin every Halloween.
Oh, Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, run if he is seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross. For us, the soul it might be lost.
scary, a candle you must light. On that evening eerie we call Halloween night. He'll scare away the demons, keep them from attack. Tell the devil himself, take care, it might just be your Jack. Oh,
Jack-o'-lantern, run for eternity. Jack-o'-lantern, run if he is seen. Jack-o'-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is your soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-lantern, run for eternity. Jack-o'-lantern, run if he is seen. Jack-o'-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is your soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-lantern, run for eternity. Jack-o'-lantern, run if he is seen. Jack-o'-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is your soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-lantern, run for eternity. Jack-o'-lantern, run if he is seen. Jack-o'-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is your soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-lantern, run for eternity. Jack-o'-lantern, run if he is seen. Jack-o'-lantern, sign of the cross.
Hey, want to show your support of Martin's artist endeavors? Buy Me a Coffee is an online site that makes supporting Marty easy. In just a few taps, you can make a payment of any amount, and no account is needed. You can also decide to become an ongoing supporter. Go to martinmccormack.com and click on the words Support Martin. Let's help Martin keep it all caffeinated.
Hi, Mr. Marty fans. Ma Gilmore here. We are in beautiful Palatine. We're at the St. John United Church of Christ, a cemetery right next to the church like it used to always be. It's a beautiful place here. We have old stones, many worn away, such as this one. Some from the people being born in the 1700s and dying in the early 1800s. This one is etched. The etching on it has kind of gone with the way of the wind and the water. So today we're going to learn how to take etchings in a cemetery. Now, when Mike and I first moved to Chicago from Oklahoma, the cemeteries in Oklahoma are not this old. There are some from the late 1800s, but nothing like this. And so it surprised us when our son, Jason, went to Lakeview and the art class had an etching class. And they would walk over to a cemetery. And I went over to that cemetery, Graceland, and saw that people were on the ground with masking tape and with transfer paper, and they were tracing to get the etching to come out of stone that was worn. And I really thought that was a beautiful thing to do when you're looking into your heritage. If you go to a cemetery that you can't read your ancestors' grave, well then try to etch it so that you will have a full perspective of when they died and how they lived. So today I am taking my tracing paper and my masking tape and my charcoal, and we are going to find out who this lovely person was. So see you in a couple. So we're back. I have put the tracing paper on the monument. I have my charcoal and I have a rag. We want to make sure that we are not considerate of the stone or the family who this stone belongs to. So with my chalk in hand, I am going to try to see if this works. And so far, it is doing a good job. Well, now you can use crayon. You can also use chalk, but it doesn't work as well. This is coming out perfectly. Like I said, don't get it on the stone. And when you get through, be sure and dust off any excess. And again, probably can't read it until I get it off of here. But as you can see, I'm dirty, but I'm not going to touch the stone until I'm cleaned up. And I'll ask Mike to see if he can tell who this is. Okay? Okay, here comes Mike to see if we worked.
Looks like Reinhard Fry.
Reinhard Fry,
Yeah, born.
born.
A lot of Germans in this area,
Yeah,
in this cemetery. Can't make that pronounce quite yet. Here we go. 10 September. Something here. Like 1800 something. Like this thing.
18
Get all the way
something.
over.
Yeah, September 10th, 18 something. And were you able to get it dyed?
No, not quite here.
So,
Well, this is Morgan Storman died. I can't make it out
Okay.
right now yet.
and it's like Mike was saying, there are a lot of Germans in this area, and this is in German. So, which falls in line with Mike because he is an expert in German. But this is what it came out like. And I would have covered the whole stone and tried to have gotten it that way, and maybe it would have come out better, but it worked. So, Bob Gilmore, bidding you peace and lots of fun in the cemetery, looking up ancestors and finding out when and where they died. Peace.
Hello, my name is Darlene Pearlstein, and I'd like to read you a poem from my book, Rabbits, Frogs, and Other Mischief. Penelope Parker was very sad, and so was her friend Geraldine. They hid in the barn beneath the hay so they would not be seen. They knew that the strange ones who walked on two legs were coming with axes and knives, and contracts with city butchers, and promises to their wives of bacon for Saturday's breakfast, and pork chops for Monday's lunch, for sausages, ham, and pork loin roasts to eat for Sunday's brunch. But Penelope Parker and Geraldine had devised an ingenious plan to escape from the oven's rotisserie and the hungry jaws of man. Slowly they walked from the barn to the house and watched as the men sat and ate a hearty dinner of ham hocks and jowls from Penelope's old friend Kate. But before they could finish with their main course or sop up their gravy with bread, both pigs burst through the kitchen window and ate up the men instead.
Hello, Mr. Marty fans. My name is Don Davis, and I live in Oklahoma, which in a native tongue means land of the red man. In truth, it was recently ruled that my city, Tulsa, is on Creek Nation land and still part of the reservation. I grew up here and have known about First Nation peoples all my life, which many refer to as Native Americans. One of my school chums was full-blood Muskogee Creek, and one of my grade school teachers was full-blood Choctaw. When I was in third grade through high school, I would attend a church camp north of the town of Vian, Oklahoma, called Dwight Mission. The camp was a Native American mission school founded in 1829 by Presbyterian missionaries for the Arkansas Cherokee children and those forced to move to Indian Territory on the infamous Trail of Tears. The children lived in log cabins built on the site and later in stone 2-story dormitories. Of course, they were taught English and studied the Christian faith and Bible. A horrible fire broke out in the early 1900s, and 19 children died in the inferno. They, along with many other Cherokee peoples, were buried in a cemetery adjacent to the mission. There was always a certain amount of fear by those of us who attended the summer camp, having heard stories of ghosts and other unknowns in the cemetery. One story was that of the ghost of a Cherokee chief who would rise up out of his grave if anyone came into the cemetery during the night. We were told explicitly to not leave the dorm at night, and specifically to stay out of the graveyard. Well, you can probably guess that in 9th grade, those of us who were willing to and wanted to had to check out the stories for ourselves. Some of us, boys and girls, stealthily snuck out of our dorms, met up, and headed toward this cemetery. There was a step over the fence made of rock and mortar, and we later found out it was surrounded by poison ivy and briar bushes, and several of us suffered the ill effects of contact with the ivy. We wandered around in the light of a full moon, boys trying to act like we weren't scared so as to impress the girls. We had been there only a few minutes when we began to hear a soft voice, not speaking English, and coming from the back area of the graveyard where the chief supposedly was buried. Needless to say, we looked at each other, some girls squealed, and all of us hightailed it to the fence crossing, hearts pounding out of our chests. I don't know for sure, but I may have run over somebody at the crossing. To this day, I don't know if what we heard was real or imagination in overdrive. It may have been one of the counselors, or maybe the story about the chief was true. I'll never know for certain. This is Don Davis. Have a good evening.
Hey, Mr. Marty fans. It's your roving reporter here up in Andersonville. And I'm here because I'm going on a ghost walk. And I have here my two ghost guys, Orion Cooling and Zach Meyer. And I would like them to tell us a little bit about why a ghost walk and what got you interested in ghost walks.
Right on. Well, Zach, we started doing ghost work together almost, 10 years ago? Yeah. We had met working on a historical vessel telling stories about history, and turned out we had both an affinity for paranormal. My father also is a ghost tour guide, and so he called us up as backup for a big event out in Michigan We went up there together. Turned out we'd had a really good time telling stories side by side, especially on this topic of the paranormal, the supernatural. So we've been doing this together for quite some time.
Yeah. And the paranormal just provides a new angle at drama and poetry that we really, really love getting into and exploring what the stories have in common and what it brings to the society, community, the people at large, the time. It's a really cool vessel for drama through history.
Well, that's pretty cool, because I had no idea there were enough haunted sites ghostly sites in Andersonville to walk for 2 hours.
There's actually more stories that we could tell that we don't have time for. Like this, the time provided allows us to tell a certain amount of tales. I could easily do a 3-hour tour of this area without a problem.
Well, I would be happy to come back and do another one, because I like ghosts. I like ghost stories. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of your other kind of ghostly things? You mentioned you did stuff in Michigan.
Yeah, so we've been leading ghost tours in northern Michigan, in Illinois, parts of Wisconsin, and then I spend a lot of time in New Orleans half the year. I work as a professional ghost tour guide down there as well. And so we've led ghost tours on tall ships, on small boats, on rivers, on walks throughout all these different areas. For this area, we've been leading ghost tours in Andersonville. I believe this is year 4 that we've been doing it. Normally, we just do a handful in the given season, but this year we thought we'd come out swinging and do a whole bunch.
And the best part, with the advent of Zoom, we can do virtual shows too. We did one for Maritime Museum up in Michigan, focused on all stories of maritime vessels and all that stuff. So really, we're not hindered by anything, even location.
There's a lot of ghostly stuff with maritime. I mean, I'm from Michigan originally myself, and
Me too. I'm a Michigander myself.
My dad sailed on ore freighters in his younger days.
I grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, watching the ore freighters come and go.
My dad
possibly watched your dad.
My dad grew up in Harbor Beach, and no, you're too young to have been, when my dad was sailing. That was many a year ago, because I'm a lot older than you.
Oh.
And my dad is now sailing boats up in the great beyond.
Great hereafter.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
But
well, that made his journey continue to be smooth and adventurous at the same time. For us in this particular neighborhood, it was really exciting because to tell a good ghost tour, to create a good ghost tour, a neighborhood has to have personality, right? Andersonville has a ton of personality. Wonderful historical buildings, but also modern buildings that have replaced the historical buildings. So it's just ripe. It's just ripe for storytelling and in a lovely environment for doing it. And so we start down here at the Dollop Diner. We basically walk all the way to the gates of Rose Hill Cemetery and finish next to Fireside. So it's a 2-hour experience, but you're walking about 1.5 miles.
so nice leisurely pace.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to having a rip-roaring good time, and hopefully we'll be joined by some ghosts.
Hopefully.
Thank you both for your time.
Our pleasure.
Good evening. I am Edgar Igor, and I shall be your guide here in my very most favorite place, the cemetery. This is Rose Hill Cemetery. I shall be your host. Here we are at the home of my good friend Charles Hughes. In life, he was dabbling in real estate, don't you know? And in death, he followed suit. Look at this magnificent home that he built. More of a little cathedral than a crypt, don't you think? And as a result, my friends here protested. They sued him for after-death ostentatiousness. And as a result, he gets very upset. And you can still, to this day, hear him moaning and shaking his chains. Hello, my friends. Here we are at the home of another of my friends. As you know, all my best friends are there. This particular friend died when she was just 20 years old. Or I should say, she joined us when she was just 20 years old. And her daughter joined us 4 months later. It is a tragic story. And it is said that on the anniversary of her death, this glass case that holds her image fills with a white, foamy smoke from the other side. Ha ha. Yes, indeed. That's scary, huh, kids? Good evening, kids. Trick or treat. Ooh, this is scary, isn't it? Scary, kids. We're at the home of 2 old dead friends of mine, Mr. Montgomery Ward and Mr. Sears. They're both rather angry, as they're both dead department stores. But of the 2, Dick Sears is the more angry, kids. Oh, he has been seen in full regalia, haunting Mr. Montgomery Ward. Oh, yes. Here is where they abide in this abode. It is a scary place, kids. It's a very, very scary place. My friends, here we are, visiting an old friend of mine. This is Lulu Fellows. She was just 16 when she joined us all in the spirit world. She is famous in the Rose Hills Cemetery. It has come to light recently, though I knew it all along, that she was an elocutionist. Yes, she was in the theater. She was a graduate of Juilliard and spoke with fine elocution. And she was a lovely girl, as you can see. And people leave her money. I don't know how much good it will do her now. And here we are. She was such a lovely lass. And now in the spirit world, she will always be young, and she will always be beautiful. Well, kids, I hope you had a ghoulish, haunting good time. It's getting late, and I must go to bed now. Good night. Let me in. Let me in.
Hello, Mr. Marty fans. It's The Visit, a new scratch art piece by Martin McCormack. Happy Halloween.
"Is there anybody there?" said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again a second time. "Is there anybody there?" he said, but no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes where he stood perplexed and still, but only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to the voice from the world of men. Stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf, neath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder, and lifted his head. "Tell them I came, and no one answered, that I kept my word," he said. Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Ay, they heard his foot upon the stirrup and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone.
Manipulate with a palette knife. You don't want big bubbles. Most of these will pop, but still pretty cool. Rubber face in it. You really can't go wrong. It's a zombie doll, after all. Come up to the lab. See what's on the slab. Making our hair more white. Around it. Get this one anything else but the doll. Really matted and gross. The days of home coloring. This will take a while to dry, but as you can see, she's ghostly. Ghostly pale. You just dip it in there. Make a nice, horrific mess. Or you can use spray paint, but I don't like the smell. Alright, this will take a while to dry. Next week, we put on a face.
Thanks for watching the show.